In this research, it will be proved how geography has played a fundamental role in the condition of women in geographic areas of particular interest, that is to say Sub-Saharan Africa, Islamic countries, and India. This research will be poorly linked to the studies of gender and social geography. Before going into the merits of gender geography, it is important to underline that within sociology, gender studies claim the difference and essential split between sex and gender. Sex concerns everything related to an individual's biology and genetic makeup that manifests the anatomical differences between men and women, while gender represents a cultural construction that appears in society with associated divisions of role. We'll see that this research will therefore be developed by addressing the condition of women in three specific spatial contexts, and the parameters used to contextualize the reality of these countries are access to information, work, wealth, poverty, health, and quality of life. We can see that in Sub-Saharan Africa, women experience every kind of abuse on a daily basis. They're often victims of child marriages due above all to the issue related to the dowry, for example. But still, according to many researchers and international agencies, when researchers talk about global poverty, they're actually referring above all to a feminization of poverty. It is no coincidence that according to the Human Development Index, that of 1 billion people currently living in Africa, approximately 3/4 of the population are women living at or below the poverty line. Gender discrimination causes a discrepancy between the possibilities offered to girls and those offered to boys. In an impoverished family, little to no access to economic resources, male education is usually preferred, leaving the girls to the housework at useful support for their mothers. The biggest obstacles that women's education has to deal with can be divided into 4 different thematic areas, that is to say macro factors, social cultural factors, political and legislative factors, and school-related factors. But in general, women, they do not have access to education, but also they do not have access to medication. In fact, since the beginning of the epidemic in 1981, HIV and AIDS have affected and caused over 35 million deaths and more than 70 million infected people worldwide. Currently, AIDS is the leading cause of death for people aged between 15 and 14 in Sub-Saharan Africa, and it has wiped out all the progress made in recent decades and has significantly reduced life expectancy. Another issue that women have to deal with in Sub-Saharan Africa is the female genital mutilation, that refers to all the procedures that involve the partial or total removal of the female external genitalia or other injuries practiced not for medical but social cultural reason. There are various types of mutilation with different levels of severity and invasiveness, which culminate with infibulation. In many communities, female genital mutilation is considered as a rite of passage into adulthood and, at the same time, an acceptance of traditional values themselves. While in Africa work is being done to combat and possibly to eradicate the phenomenon of FGM, in other parts of the world attempts are being made to do the same with other types of violence, no less serious, which are always perpetrated to the detriment of women, as happens, for example, in Islamic countries and in India. News from weeks ago concerns the killing of the young 22-year-old Iranian girl Mahsa Amini, arrested in Tehran on the 13th of September 2022. For not having observed the law on the obligation to wear the veil. Many eyewitnesses have stated that the young woman, although wearing the veil, appears to have simply had a strand of hair outside her hijab. The riots and protests to demand justice in the name of the young Mahsa Amini have inflamed the largest city of Iran, where thousands of women took to the streets with their heads uncovered, breaking the law on the obligation to wear the veil, cutting their hair, and burning the veil as a sign of rebellion. The price of a woman's freedom cannot be her death. Together we will continue to fight for freedom and equality, for a better, more just and civilized world, full of possibilities and opportunities for all. Together we will fight so the death of Mahsa Amini will not have been in vain.